Well, good afternoon, folks. Or is it almost afternoon? Oh, I thought we'd do a new stitch with me today. Um, Starting on a new journey. But first, I'd like to say thank you and welcome to everyone who has been returning to my channel. I really, really appreciate all your support and your continuing to return with each video. And most of all, I want to say thank you to all the new people that have subscribed to my channel over the past, I'm going to say probably around 2 weeks. It has been overwhelming. In fact, let me switch screens here for a minute. There we go. It has been just truly overwhelming. Yeah, what can I say? So I hope all of you enjoy your stay here. Find something that you like and would like to come back. And wow, I'm at a loss for words. If I remember right, I have gained something like 500 subscribers in the last 2 weeks. Now, I thank Country Stitchers for that, because I know that a lot of you have come from there, but I'm sure you've come from other places too, and I'm just overwhelmed, and I thank you from the very bottom of my heart. I really, really appreciate it. And like I said, I hope you find things here that you like and keep coming back. So with that, today we're going to do a little bit of a stitch with me for, maybe about an hour. And just have a little chat and hang out. So let's get started. Okay, let me switch my windows around here a little bit. There we go. Today, a lot of you already know that my home driver, I passed on, or rehomed, I should say, because of my inability to work on it for any great length of time, and the blurry vision that I'm having. So that was passed on to a new home, and I hope that the person that adopted it will show us progress pics every once in a while. So that would be just wonderful. So that left me with, what are we going to replace that with? I've really narrowed down, because of that, I've narrowed down the things that I have that I can comfortably see to stitch on and work on. So with that, it just gave me the itch. And that itch was for a new start. So what you see here up in the corner, I'll make it a little bit bigger, is something truly unusual for me to stitch on. But it is called it's a mini, and it's Magic City of Books. So it is the mini. I've kind of also come to the conclusion that to do the great big ones, I would like to see a few more finishes. So I've kind of opted to do smaller ones instead of the great big ones, and see if that's more achievable than trying to complete a regular size Haid. So today I did get a little bit of a start, and as you see, I'm back to stitching on the diagonal. And I'm going to, at least for now, and we all know, those of you who have been here a while all know that this too could change. Just because that's how we roll. This too could change. But for right now, I thought, you know what? It's been quite some time. Wow, probably, I'm probably going to say 2 years since I've done a video on diagonal stitching and how to do that. So I thought, well, I have a lot of new people here. And as I said, thank you so very much. I am so overwhelmed. But there's a lot of new people here, and maybe it's time to reintroduce stitching on the diagonal. What I'm doing currently is row by row. That was originally how I started out. And if people go back and watch pretty early videos on that, they'll see how it progressed over time. But this is how I started, and this is what I thought I'd do today. So I'm going to talk through it as I do this. I will go on to say that this is not the only way to stitch on the diagonal. This is a way that I adapted from videos that I watched. So it's not the only way. And over time, it has progressed, and many people, again, overwhelmed at the number of people that are stitching on the diagonal and the number of ways that people have adapted it for themselves. It's amazing, and it's wonderful, and it's terrific. And it's what each person needs to do is we all need to find what works for us. What I have been doing is a little bit of cross country, and I think a piece dictates what they want, Yeah, what it wants, or the way it wants to be stitched. That piece is going to tell you that. But I chose this piece to use again as a demonstration way, not only because it really is calling to me to stitch it. It's only like 5, 10, maybe, 2 rows of 5 pages, full pages, and then the last row is like of 5 pages is like only maybe half a page. So it's really not that huge. So it's something that can be stitched, I think, fairly quickly. And it does not appear to be, from what I could see perusing the chart, it doesn't appear to be severely confetti heavy. So that's also something I was kind of looking for at this point in time, so that, sometimes I just need a break from that heavy confetti. So that's the other reason that I chose this piece. And it doesn't have a lot of colors here in the beginning, so it's an easy piece to demonstrate diagonal stitching. And I'll talk about some of the different ways as we go along, because like I said, everybody needs to find the way that's going to work for them. But again, I was amazed at how diagonal stitching has taken off. Always feel free to message me if you have questions, or if there's something that you want to know how to do, whatever. I mean, I'm always available for that. And the other place where you can get a lot of questions answered, if I don't have the answers, is to join the Facebook group for the love of diagonal cross stitching. I am the owner of that group, but there are so many talented stitchers in there that if you ask a question, there is someone who is going to answer. And it's a very friendly group. People get along. There's not well, I'm just going to say it. People in that group don't bash each other or put each other down or say, oh, you can't do it that way. It is a very positive group, and it's very helpful. And if I see a post that someone is being negative, it's corrected immediately, because I won't have that. This is not something to say, oh my God, you're doing it wrong, or oh my God, you can't do that, or oh my God, that looks awful. No. People need to decide for themselves how they want to stitch, what they want to stitch, and as long as they are happy with what they stitch, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. So let's do a little bit of stitching today. I have my pattern keeper here, and I'm going to highlight the first symbol, and then I have it in red. Let's zoom in a little bit on this area right here, okay? Because now, as you can see, I'm in the block now that will be just half of a block. So what I have done here is because there's only 3 colors, I don't usually do this, but I'm going to keep my needle threaded just for ease of, and I'm going to put my extra set of eyes down because, well, guys, even on 20 count, I'm using magnification. So that is what it is. So I am going to stitch this stitch, and I'm going to, now you can do this however you choose, but I'm going to just show you this way for the time being. I'm going to park it in the next occurrence, which is right there. I'm going to let it on my needle. Then next, I'm going to stitch this stitch, which is 939. And yes, this is slower. Okay, so I stitched that one. Oh, change this up here. I stitched this one. And now I'm going to skip 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to park it over there. So this is how I started out, stitching on the diagonal. And the whole mindset is to not block anything in, so that you're always coming up in an empty hole and going down in holes that are occupied. So now I'm going to stitch the next 3 stitches, and I'm soon going to have to get another thread here because this one is going to run out. And by doing it this way, these carries, when you go from here to over here, that carry on the back is getting stitched over so that you don't have any loose ends hanging out back there. A, it makes your back neater. B, and I find this one rather important, is after you finish your piece and you wash it and you're ironing it dry, that point of your iron is going to find all those long carried threads and pull them. Ask me how I know that. Because there was a point in time before I knew better where I had long carries, and believe you me, every time my iron would find those long carries and it would pull on that stitch or those stitches and distort them on the front every time. So I learned to be very careful when ironing, first off, but it also taught me a lesson of you can carry your thread and there's nothing wrong. But when I carried it after that, I started working it under stitches instead of just letting a long stitch on the back. So, again, no right and wrong. As long as you're happy, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. You stitch how you prefer to stitch. So I just did those. I parked it here. Now I'm going to do this one. Yeah, it's a lot of switching in Pattern Keeper. And normally I probably wouldn't be highlighting like that, but I'm doing it so that you guys can follow along and see. Now here, what I'm going to do is, because it's the last stitch on the row, I'm going to skip that one and I'm going to complete this last stitch. Okay. Yeah, there's a little burp in the fabric there. There we go. And actually, because this is getting a bit short, I'm going to end it. Now, I started doing something a bit different with ending my thread. I didn't used to do this. However, I signed up and have participated in, I don't know if a lot of you saw it on, I think it was Instagram where it's advertised. I'm pretty sure. A course called the Tidy Back Technique. And I have not done the whole thing yet, but I've done, quite a bit of it. And I really liked the way of ending thread. I'm not a person who likes to be flipping to the back all the time. The more I can do from the front of my work, the better. And I liked this technique of ending threads. So I'm going to show you what that is. I just completed this last X on this row. Okay. So what I did is I came up, I'm bringing my needle up in the middle of the threads that are forming that block. So I came up right here. Okay. So that now you're going to see it run past this unstitched place. So I'm going to just run my needle underneath this X like that. And then I'm going to run it under this next X. And then I'm going to bring it up, and that's going to put the tail underneath those stitches. This will get covered when I stitch this one. And then I'm just going to pull this up as tight as I can and clip this as close as I can without clipping my actual stitch. And once I stitch this X, you're not even going to know it's there. Now, this is not the first time I have ended a thread this way on this piece. I can't tell where I ended them. Just saying. So I'm rather enjoying that method. And what I will do is flippy around, because this is easy to flip around, and show you. Okay, let me move this. To the back. And look how much neater your back is. Now, granted, this is only 3 colors, so you're not going to have a big, messy back. But you don't have any little fuzzy things jumping around here from trying to work threads under your stitches on the back. So bottom line is, I'm enjoying that method. You know, it's not for everybody. And again, you do what makes you happy. I don't want to necessarily be flipping my fabric all the time. So now, let's see. We stitched this, this, and this. And now, 1, 2, 3, I didn't mark it. I'm parked there. So I need this color, which is 823, which I happen to have here. There we go. Thread the needle. I think I showed you all the threading the needle thing of laying it over my finger, putting the needle on top, and then just pushing till you get a little loop up. Just pushing till that little loop pops up, and then pull it through. It's a talent. It takes a little bit of finagling until you're able to do it. So now the way I've been starting threads is also a little bit different. So if I was going to be stitching this way, I would start my thread on this side. However, my row now is going to the left. And this here is going to be my first stitch. So back here, I'm going to go down through the fabric. I'm going to come up here. I'm going to go down here. So really what I'm doing is just going through the weave of the fabric. I'm going to pull this just a smidge so that it looks like it's going to fly through, but not quite. And then I'm going to come up in my bottom left corner. And then I'm going to pull it all out. So do that again. I'm going to pull that, come up here. So what this does is it actually just hides it a little bit better so that you can stitch over it. I'm going to go down here. I'm going to come up here. That's in my bottom corner. I'm going to pull that just to the point of hiding it. I'm going to make my stitch and not pull it out. And then I'm going to skip this one and I'm going to park this over here. Oops, sorry, I bumped you. Pick up this thread, stitch this stitch, skip one, park it over here, I got my needles confused here. That's the only thing with keeping them threaded. I get my needles all tangled. Okay, so let's see. Let's undo that. So I did this one. I did this one. Now I'm doing the third stitch in the row. And that should cover up the last little bit of that tail. I'm going to skip 2, 1, 2, park my thread here. So now I'm going to do these two. Sorry, my big hand is in the way. One, two, and then the last stitch in the row is this same color. So I am going to stitch that one since it's the last stitch in the row. And then I am going to park it over here under this stitch. So I'm going to park it here, and I stitched that. So I just have those 3 stitches left. So I'm going to stitch 1, 2, this one, and I'm going to park it here. And then I have 1 stitch of this color, which is, okay, so we did those 2, which is 500, one of my favorite greens. I'm going to stitch this one. I'm sorry, I keep bumping you. And then I am going to go straight down 2 stitches and 1 to the right and park it there. Okay, so that's 2 rows. Or did we do 3? No, that's 2 rows. So that's one way to stitch on the diagonal. Row by row, stitch by stitch, which takes time. It's not the quickest way in the world to stitch. So another way to do this row by row is, first off, I look at what color has the most stitches. And that would be this color. Because as you see within that diagonal, there's only 2 of that one left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do those 2 stitches first. And then you say, why do you do that? Because by stitching these 2 stitches first, there's a thread carry here. It's only 2 stitches, but it's still a thread carry. And then I'm going to park this here. Okay, so I'm parking it here. Oops. I'm parking it here. I stitched this and I stitched that. So, do you see what that leaves me? All the same color. And what that color will do is cover up this thread carry. So now I'm going to stitch these. Okay, so this is a little bit faster because you can do more stitches at a time instead of, you know, switching every other stitch. And in a high confetti area, believe you me, you could very well be every stitch is a different color. You know, I've had blocks where in a 10 by 10 block, there might have been 30 or 40 colors. In fact, my friend Barb and I were stitching together, was it last week? Or was it the week before? Can't quite remember. But anyway, she was stitching on a piece and her 10 by 10 block was getting so full of colors that she was having, of different colors, that she was having a really hard time finding the spot of where to park. Because it was just, I think she must have had 30 colors at least parked in that block. Yeah, she was working on, it was a quick stitch from one of the bookshelves. Is there one called Sweet Life? It's the first section of the bookshelf where it's the gate with the key and all the flowers and yeah, enough to make if you like confetti, that's a good one to stitch. I don't mind confetti, but I'm not crazy about pieces that are really confetti heavy. So now I'm going to park this one here. So now this row, this is parked. Oh, I did it again. This is parked. So let's get rid of those. And let's mark these all off because they're all stitched. And we'll look at the next row. So we have just one of the 8 balls. We have just 2 of the solid squares. And we have the most stitches in the hexagon. So my stitching order would be to do the 8 balls first. Maybe they'll tell my fortune. Magic 8 ball. So I'm going to do that one first. I'm going to go down 2 over 1 and park it. And mark it as stitched and mark this as parked. Now I'm going to do the squares. And do you see how we're going to be jumping even behind that magic 8 ball? Okay, we don't want that one. We want this one. So we're going to stitch here. And then we're going to go all the way over here to the last stitch in the row. And then we're going to park it all the way back over here underneath that first one that we did. So we're going to park it here. And we stitch that and that. And the only thing we have left in this row are those. So this isn't too bad letting your needle threaded when you only have 3 colors. Okay, so now we can stitch the rest of this row. There we go. Okay, so that completes the row. Oops. I do that every time. I forget to flip it. There we go. Okay, so I'm not going to park because the square is where I am parked. Is the last stitch in that row. Move it up a little bit here. And then it's not used till down here on the opposite side, on the other side of the 8 ball. So I'm going to continue with this color. Then I'll pick up the solid square and park it down here. Okay. Then I'll stitch the 8 ball and park that down here. and the rest is just pretty much filling in the one color. So let's just continue stitching these for the moment. And I want to get to the end of this diagonal because so many times I get the question of, what do I do when I finish the diagonal? Now, the other thing you need to decide is, am I going to stitch the diagonal page by page? Or am I going to stitch the diagonal across the whole chart? If you use Pattern Keeper, it's feasible and very easy to stitch across the whole chart because Pattern Keeper puts the chart together for you, collates the chart. Whereas if you use a different app, that may not be the case, like markup RXP. I'll get the name of it right one of these days. That just gives you page by page, which is fine. So you aren't going to see the diagonal, the whole width of the chart. You're just going to get it by page. So, with that, you might want to just stitch page by page. And that's okay. What I would do if I'm stitching page by page is, when I get to the bottom here, I would, you're going to have that gray area, which is the overlap. I would put my last stitch in the gray, or in one of the last 3 rows, because that gray area is going to be on the next page. So if you put it in one of the last 3 rows, when you get down to that page underneath it, you're already going to know what symbol and color it is, so that you can just continue on in that page. So I would let them hang until I got to that page. If you're going to do the whole width, like start at the top of the diagonal, go until you're at the edge of the project, then I end the threads and start anew at the top again. So that's what, pardon me, that's what I'm going to be doing here. So now, let me get the right needle. Okay. I'm going to do 1. Okay, so I'm really almost done with this diagonal. Woohoo, then I just started this today. So then we have 2 diagonals done already. Now, this also goes a bit faster when you're not trying to talk and explain it, and it's just you sitting there concentrating on what you're doing and where your next stitch needs to be and all of that good stuff. Now, while I finish this, I will tell you another way that people are doing the diagonal, which is all okay too. Like whatever method, if you want to stitch diagonally, whatever method you use is, like I said, totally up to you. There's none of them are right, none of them are wrong. What I'm showing you is just the initial way that I came up with, or I developed for myself. And it's not the way to do the diagonal. It is a way to do the diagonal. Okay, let's do here. Let's get this one out of the way because I think that's the last one of this thread. Okay. So now this is the last stitch of this thread. I have, let's look at it this way. Okay, so let's shrink this up. I don't particularly care to work up the diagonal. Some people do. Some people work down and then they'll work up. So my options with this thread are to end it or pick a point in this next diagonal where I would want to park it. That causes you then to have two threads of the same color running. And I don't always care to do that. And if I park it at the closest color or the closest instance to this one, there's really only a few. Let's look at it here. There's really only a few stitches left. So it doesn't, in my mind, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to do that. So what I'm going to do is end it. And the way I'm going to end this one is because I don't have any other X's to run it under horizontally, I'm going to do a vertical. So I'm going to come up, as you saw, in the middle, and I'm going to go under this and under the next one or two. And it takes a little bit of manipulating your fabric. I'm going to pull it up and I'm going to clip it as close as I can. And once again, you don't notice it. Now, I have a decent length left here, so I'm going to mark this one as stitched. And since I have it in my needle and I need it way up here at the top, I'm going to just start it up here a while. So I'm going to go down, come up, go down again, and use this needle to uncatch the tail that I caught in there. I'm going to come up for the start of my X. I'm going to pull that through till I have just a little smidge, and I'm just going to do the first X to lock that in place. Okay, and that's not going to come undone, people. Okay, and I'm going to park it there. So I'm going to mark this stitch is completed and this stitch is parked. So then I need to go back down here, and I only because I had that, so it's like, you know, it's not enough thread to throw away, but it's probably not going to get me very far, but it's going to get me some. So I tangled this puppy up here. Let's get it. Before it knots. There we go. Okay, put that there. All right, so I'm going to finish this. We're almost at an hour here. So I hope everybody is doing wonderful. And I hope you all have stitched along with me while I was stitching and trying to explain this again. I will post it or pre-schedule it, so watch your feed. I am going to do a live. Depends. If Barb comes down to stitch on Thursday, and I won't know that till tomorrow, then I will do a live on Friday night. If she comes down on Friday evening, then I will do a live on Saturday, probably, I don't know. I always did it early on Saturday. But like I said, my husband is going to his hunting camp over the weekend. So I think I will do a live on Saturday evening or late afternoon. Just because I can. And I'm trying to vary the times so that I can catch different people, more people, whatever. And bring your questions. Any questions that you have. And I will be happy to try and answer them. So, now that I finished this diagonal, and hopefully, I'll explain. One more method, which I got sidetracked about. So, the other method that you can do is it doesn't matter if you do it when you're starting a diagonal or when you are, already working. Say you've done 10 rows of row by row, and you thought, oh man, I had enough of this. I need something that goes a bit faster. You can, and a lot of people color complete within the diagonal. So they would pick their first color. And a lot of people go by whatever is the first color in the row. Let me just mark these. Oops. S stitch, so I know. Now that's the other thing that's really nice about the diagonal. You can put this away for 6 months, a year, pick it back up and know exactly where you are. No figuring it, nothing to figure out. You'll know exactly where you are. Now, the other way that people stitch is they pick, okay, here, come on. There we go. There we go. Okay. Come on. It's being a little funky monkey here. There we go. Okay. So they'll pick the first color in the row, which would be this. And they will stitch that color all the way down the diagonal, or as far as they can go with one strand of floss. Okay. After they finish that, they'll pick the next color and complete that one all the way down the diagonal, or as far as they can go with one strand of floss. And they'll just keep working their way down the diagonal that way. That is your fastest way to work diagonal stitching. Now, the only thing about doing it that way is if you want your stitches, how fussy you want to be about your stitches. If you want them to be very neat and precise, probably the first two methods that I showed you are the way to go. Because by color completing, you're going to have places where you're coming up in holes that already have 3 threads in them, and you're going to be placing the 4th. So when you come up in the hole, you run the risk of piercing a thread and pulling that along back out. Now, I have found, and it's been my experience, so every person is different, but what I have experienced is if I use the ballpoint needles, that does not happen because that ball on the end of the needle prevents you from piercing either your fabric thread or your floss. Therefore, you're not pulling it back up and, in essence, unstitching it a bit. So, again, it's whatever works for you, whatever you're happy with, and that's all that matters. So, hopefully, this has helped people who are doing diagonal stitching. So we talked a little bit about 3 different methods. Hopefully it's helped and you gained some insights, and you may or may not want to use this method. Totally up to you. I just put it out there as information. So I think we're going to end this for today. And I am going to say once again, thank you so very much for hanging out with me. Thank you once again to all the new people that have stopped by, and I hope you find things informative and pick up some little tidbits that might help you with your stitching. And yeah. And, hit the subscribe button, tick the bell so you know when I put up a video. And with that, again, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I love each and every one of you. And thanks for stopping by. And I will see you next time.